this may be the only movie that actually matches what the title of the film is, because this movie is totally cuckoo. Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. My name is Dalal and welcome to Popcorn and Soda, the show where we discuss all things movies, pop culture, and so much more. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for making me a small part of your day. Cuckoo. You guys know that horror is my absolute favorite genre when it comes to any movies. There is nothing like a good horror movie to me. The thrill of it, the anticipation of it, the nervousness of it, the scary factor, you well knowing that you're going to be super scared of the film, but you still watch it anyways. I just love horror. It is a genre very near and dear to my heart. So anytime there's a new horror movie that comes out, I'm always interested. But here's the thing. In the last 20 years, it's very rare to see a very original horror movie. And that's a shame because I feel like nowadays horror movies all are very formulaic, where they all follow the same kind of plot and they all go a certain direction in the film, where within the first 30 minutes, you pretty much know what's going to happen. So when a movie comes out that looks very different, feels very different, sounds very different, and the trailer actually gets me hooked, you best bet I'm going to go watch it. And that is what I did with this film, Cuckoo, from Neon and Elevation Pictures. This movie is, number one, it's a total trip. It is bonkers in all the right and wrong ways. It is trippy in the sense of you don't know what you're watching at some points. And it's equally scary in some of the scariest jump scares, but smart scares in a horror movie I've seen this year. Like bar down, 100%. It is truly one of the most unique films I've seen this year. Not just unique horror films, unique films, period. So what's this movie about? It's a movie about a family who go stay in this resort in the German Alps. It largely follows the character played by Hunter Schafer from Euphoria, in which that she's going to go live with her stepmom and her stepsister with her dad after the sad, tragic passing of her mother. They show up in this lounge area that's kind of like a resort, and it's got multiple different cabins within this giant mountain area in Germany. So it's got those, European vibes, something that I love in horror movies because it's different than our North American traditional movies. So she shows up there. She's already kind of like a rebel. She doesn't seem to be getting very well along with her mother-in-law and her stepsister, who also happens to be a mute. She's not able to speak. So she uses sign language to communicate with her. And it is a very, very interesting film because it just takes this concept of family in this unknown area, so it seems, and really kind of uses the setting to make that a character in the movie. And the setting of these mountains, of these cabins, of these beautiful cabins in this like remote green area is more creepy than it actually sounds. And the reason for that is because of the owner slash manager of this compound slash resort. And that is played by the ever so talented Dan Stevens. This guy absolutely crushes it in this film. He is this German, good looking, suave guy who welcomes his family, who he has a history with, to this resort, who seem like the dad. He's like an engineer and he is actually going to be helping create some sort of a new component to this resort. And he's going to be working alongside with Dan Stevens' character to help set that up. But right off the bat, you can tell there's something off about Dan Stevens because he's A, way too good looking in this film. B, he's way too well spoken. C, he's kind of got that shadiness to him. And then the last thing is he's automatically drawn to the character of the film played by Hunter Schafer, the main character of the movie. So pretty much what starts to happen is that she finds that, she's going to be living here for the summer, and Dan Stevens, his character, offers her a job as a receptionist at the hotel within the resort, and asks her, hey, you know what? There's not too many other people of your age. She's around 17. It could be good for you to have a part-time job. And that's where things start to unravel. And that's where she meets Trixie, who is also another teenager working at the resort. And then slowly, one by one, you start meeting the doctor of the resort, the police officer, and they're all like super shady. So you know that it's kind of like an inside job right away, that there's something going on this resort. So the horror starts kicking in where certain people, and more so females, start coming into the resort and they're acting strange. Either they're like throwing up, or they're doing like that ghoul walk where they're just slowly walking around the hotel, and then the lead of the film's asking them, hey, what's up? Can I help you? And they're not responding. And, a couple of days go by. The third day happens where another crazy incident like that happens while she's working. She's like, forget this. She starts biking home. And that is where the monster slash killer slash villain of this film appears. It's this woman in a white cloaked like hood that's like fully, top to bottom. You can see her face. She's got these big glasses on, and she starts just chasing this character as she's driving, like, riding her bike home. And that was one of the scariest movies. Probably, I swear, that's probably the scariest scene I've seen all year in any movies, where she's just riding her bike in the dark. She has her earphones on. She's riding. She looks down. There's a shadow behind her, and she turns around, and there's this crazy woman screaming, yelling at her, trying to grab a hold of her. It is absolutely a nightmare, and I loved it. I ate it all up. Now what happens is, the character, she pretty much ends up getting lost. She finds her way into the hospital, and then, she runs into the doctors there, and she's like, hey, this woman was chasing me, and they're all like, there is no woman. So people start to doubt her. And that's pretty much where the story goes from. And what it largely is about is controlling of these females, young females that are on the resort, with the use of, music, setting them up with electroshock therapy to set them up as like perfect specimens. It's really trippy. I can't even really explain the movie because that's how trippy it is. So as always, let's kind of start with the beginning. Things that I really liked about this film. Number one, pretty much what I just said. Dan Stevens, hands down, is worth the price of admission. Such a good character. Such a good, strange, weird, cuckoo kind of guy who pretty much is like the villain of the movie in many ways. He's like the architect of this entire place. I love Dan Stevens. He's got this thick German voice in this movie, and I loved it. I thought he brought so much charisma to this movie. Number two, the cast. I thought there was a good surrounding cast around Dan Stevens. And of course, Hunter Schafer's the lead, and I think she did a very good job. But I think the dad, the mom, the step's daughter, and then of course the doctors and the detective who we run into midway through the movie, who believes Hunter's character that, hey, I do know there's a woman that's running around here killing people and causing havoc. And that's where she kind of buddies up with this private detective to really figure out what's going on. I love that. The second thing that I loved was pretty much, again, the environment that this film is in. It's in this like beautiful German Alp location in which it becomes a character on the movie. And that's what I love about a good horror movie, is when you have a setting which is equally as part of the movie as much as the characters, because the setting then becomes a character. And when it becomes a character, it heightens the mood, the atmosphere, and it makes the scares that much more scarier. So I love the setting of that. I also really liked the cinematography of this film. It was really trippy. It was weird how they shot it. There's a lot of creative shots in terms of creative sets. There's a very creative set in one scene of the movie. It's like a swimming pool, but it's like a room. I really enjoyed that scene and just the visual appeal of this film because I think that's very important. It's a very stylized film. It's not your traditional North American horror movie. It's got a unique style to it. And I really appreciated that about this movie. Now, things that I didn't like about the film. I think the story was way out there. And I'm not saying I didn't necessarily not like it, but I think it went a little too out there to a point where it's like, okay, it's getting a little silly, but it's still scary. Which part am I supposed to be? There's like a flute that Dan Stevens plays to kind of control some of these females. And it's like, what's going on here? So that level of disbelief, you have to suspend it because there is definitely some like voodoo going on in the movie. So that was something that I wasn't the biggest fan of realistically. The second thing I didn't enjoy as much is that the scares were inconsistent in the sense that literally one of the scariest scenes of the year that I've seen, probably in the top first or second. I gotta, rethink about some of the other horror movies I watched in the bike riding scene, but then some of the other scenes throughout the movie just kind of felt strange and weird. It kind of had like a Midsummer vibe, if that makes any sense. It's like a horror movie, but midsummer-y kind of. So I don't know. I think the inconsistencies there for that kind of threw me off. But to be fair to the film, I don't think it's truly a horror movie as much as it's like a horror slash thriller because there's a lot of really cool elements to it that make it more so like a detective story. And I like those parts about the movie a lot. And like the third thing, and this isn't a negative, this is actually a positive. I like the fact that the filmmakers, the director took a big swing when it came to this movie. Because again, horror movies are all the same nowadays. And I hate that because I feel like, there's so much potential. And when a horror movie's good, nothing beats that experience. It was a big swing. The whole crazy mind control part of the movie, trying to raise the perfect woman, this killer, like on the loose. It's got premonitions of the future. It's got like a time travel kind of weird thing. Then it's got a, flashback kind of weird thing. They really went out there. And I give Neon all the credit in the world for greenlighting a movie like this. Because I feel like we truly need more movies like Cuckoo. Because although it may not be for everyone, I think that a movie like this can inspire a lot of creatives to make their own version of Cuckoo or our own version of a horror movie that they wanted to make that isn't mass produced. And I really think that, it was a lot of good stuff in this movie. There's a lot of really good things in this movie. So overall, you guys know me. I don't rank movies on stars or numbers. It's all based on A, is this a movie theater movie? B, is this a streaming movie? Or C, is this like a rainy day movie? You're kind of eating something and you turn on the TV and just flip on a movie. I think that this is a good streaming movie. I watched it in the theaters myself, and again, I'm a little biased because I think the movie theater can enhance any movie. I truly think it's the best way of watching a movie. But for a movie like this, I think on a Friday night or a Saturday night with you and your friends, you and your family, kind of cozied up around the TV, I think it's a great environment because then your environment becomes almost an environment of the movie. And I think that's going to be a great experience. I don't think this is a movie that everyone should watch in the theater because I think some people are going to get a little restless because there's a lot of tonal shifts within the movie. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's for everyone. I truly don't think that. That's why when you're in the comfort of your own home, you can kind of watch it at your own pace and understand the movie how you want to understand it. So do I think Cuckoo's one of the best horror movies of the year? It's up there. It's definitely up there. Now, again, there hasn't been the biggest amount of horror movies released so far this year. I still think Nosferatu, it's going to be released later this year, one of my most anticipated movies, might actually take that title. But well done to Neon, well done to Elevation Pictures that they took a big swing with Cuckoo because I think there is a lot of really good things in this movie. And I think it was a good movie. I thought it was a very good horror movie as well in certain parts. And then it was kind of like a thriller in other parts. So, leave that be, take it as you may. But more importantly, friends, comment below. I want to know what you guys thought of Cuckoo. Was this a film that you really enjoyed? Were you scared by it? Were you kind of like, what's going on? Were you kind of zoned out by a lot of the crazy plot twists that happen in this movie? Comment below and please do let me know. And as always, greatly appreciate it if you can take 1 second out of your day to press that like button, share this video, subscribe, click that little bell notification to see when my next videos come out. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Popcorn and Soda.